Let's go ahead and get started with the City Council work session. Welcome to the Monday, October 24th meeting. We're going to go ahead and start with a discussion of amending ordinance number 1269. This is user fees charged by the City of Fairhope Planning and Zoning Department.
Thank you,
Mr.
Chairman.
Simmons.
So we do have fees within the city's ordinances. They haven't been amended since 2005. Just a quick summary of what we're proposing here. As you know, we have a site plan review process that goes to Planning Commission and City Council. There's no fee for that. So adding a fee of $500 to help cover some of our costs. And then advertising costs have really escalated and postage, and we would like to defer those costs to the applicant. So those are advertising fees that we have to do for public hearings. Our current fees are on the screen, and I just want to show we're not proposing any changes to any of these base fees except for adding one to the site plan review. As an example of what actual cost to the city is for some of these projects, I took just the three we have on the council, items 5, 6, and 7, and total what we paid just for postage and advertising. So those fees are intended to cover some of your staff's cost, advertising, and postage. And as you can see on one of these, that it was $1,268.56, which is more than the $1,020 we charge. So we're paying money to hear those cases. So the proposed, I've added these and highlighted site plan review, $500. That's a simple proposal. And then the rest of the language is where appropriate to pass along either the postage fees and or the postage and advertising fees. That's what we're proposing. It is an item on the agenda, it's item 10. So I'll have that on the agenda if you want to adopt like this, or send me back. We can pull it from the agenda if you need any further information. I'd be happy to do that.
All right, council, and I'm thinking this is kind of coming at you quick, but go ahead and take a quick review of this, and if you've got some questions, go ahead and let's start asking. I mean, I definitely think we need to be charging for the postage and all the certified letters and everything. I didn't realize that was all done 100% at our expense.
On a few cases, we've charged $20 flat fee for the postage. Postage isn't what gets us, it's the advertising. So Lisa and I were just talking about this. When a PUD has an image, the way our local Fairhope courier is required, it goes into a display ad. So we have to run it twice for City Council, once for Planning Commission. I don't have the breakdown. Yeah, I do. So those were, the first run was $1,000. The second run was $150. For Planning Commission, it was $50. So that's 3 separate advertisements. And in addition to the postage, it's almost $1,300.
So moving forward, that one that you got highlighted, the 1268, for example, that 1268 is going to get passed along to the customer, as well as a $1,000 application fee, not $1,020. So the total cost to the applicant would be $2,268.56, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's the way we proposed.
Council members, any questions? Mayor?
Go back to the previous, that's go next. Yeah, that.
You see a lot of people moving this way. A lot of people don't have this same challenge. Code of Alabama requires an advertisement in a local paper where there is one in your area that has a Class 2 mailing license, the bulk mail for newspapers. If we didn't have that, if our local post office didn't have that Class 2 license, we could just post in 3 separate locations, bulletin boards in public areas. And that would be faster. So y'all know the burden on zoning changes and things like that. It can take 2 months to get from Planning Commission to City Council here. That's because of these advertisements, because they don't run every day. back in the day when this code was written, state of Alabama, a lot of newspapers were running every day and, twice on the weekends. So posting that 2 days in a row was not a problem, but we have a little bit of a burden here. So the ones that do have advertisements are moving more to this model of passing along Gulf Shores is certainly doing it, and I believe the county's even done that in some of the cases. So Gulf Shores has been doing this for a while. It adds a step to ours. Instead of taking the check on the front end, we take the application check, then send them a bill when there's an advertisement, or when there's a bill coming in for advertisement.
So Hunter, going back to this slide, though, if we look over there in the application fee, the 1,020, that's the proposed?
No, that's what they've actually paid.
That's what they've been
That
paid.
is, okay.
That's
So,
set.
do you have anything that shows what those 3 cases on tonight's agenda would be under what's being proposed? I guess the reason, and let me tell you why I'm asking that, because 2208 is basically subsidizing, 10.
Yes.
And is it going to be a little bit more equitable under the new?
The new cost is
Yeah.
basically gonna be $1,000 more than the total postage.
You got
Yeah,
it.
if you
Just add 1,000 to each of those.
Yeah, if you add that column with the flyer coming out of it to the application fee, that's essentially what the new cost would be.
We'll take the $20 off because we're adding actual. So if you add $1,000 to each of those, that would be the new fee.
So nobody's subsidizing anybody anymore. We're making.
Everybody's paying their own
Everybody's
way.
paying their application fee. And I guess my question would be, in general, and I think you answered this partially already, in general, I'm sorry, my mic's off. In general, what's the purpose of the application fee? And if you go back to the slate of, one more with the changes, nope. Yes, nope, sorry, back, yeah, nope.
Nope. Scroll wheel is.
There we go, right there. All right, so if you go back and look at these, the purpose of the application fee in general is to do what? To pay administrative costs for going through and handling these type issues? Okay, so when we pay more than the application fee to get it advertised, then we as a city are subsidizing you to file an application with us.
That's right.
Yeah, that can't happen. And the $500 added for site plan review, is that because there's an additional service and additional time needed when their site plan's filed?
That has been on our to-do list way before me. And as a planning department, that's been on our to-do list many years. It's just getting in front of you. I mean, staff time is the same as a zoning case. We still print packets. We have those costs. So it's just to defer some of those costs.
Is that something that's charged for in other jurisdictions?
Yes. That Gulf Shores and Gulf Shores not everyone has that same process, but the equivalent it does have a charge.
Any other questions for Hunter on this?
I'm sorry, I want to go back to that slide again. That's pretty much- Can you go back to the other slide? Yeah, the showed the 1,000
Yes, sir.
again. So in this, I still am trying to understand, you'd add 1,000 to the total postage and advertising? That's the total cost, right? Where would you add 1,000 to?
So each of these, so this case 2208 would be $1,428.33 under the proposed model, 2268 for the next case, and then 1773.
Okay, well, what's the application fee then? It would be.
That's currently what we're taking in revenue of $1,020 right now. We're spending this.
So it'd be 1428 in that column in the new one, and 2268.
Yes. 1773. And I didn't put that math.
They're saying basically it would cover the cost of whatever it is,
It
plus
just-
1,000.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, they just pass through the
It's covering the cost
postage.
plus 1,000.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it's equal across the board. That's
That's
kind of what I'm trying to.
Correct.
Yes. And 1,000
Because
is
that doesn't
one-
count all your labor that goes into it.
No, that's, well, the 1,000 would help cover some of that.
Right.
It doesn't get there all the way, but it helps.
But it would at least allow us to,
That clarifies.
yeah, it would at least allow us to keep 1,000 in every case.
Yes.
To put towards that labor.
Yes. And as you see, the base fee is a little bit different for every case. I picked 1,000 because it's right in the middle, but some of those cases are 100, some are 500, some are 1,000 with plus lot fees.
Yeah, I think we were all looking at that chart trying to figure out if that was showing the new proposed, but really that chart was only illustrating that we're losing money on some of these cases.
Yeah, I only had, you know, I could go back and look at every case and what it cost us. That's a lot of it. We actually didn't have a postage quantifiable for just us, so we'd have to manually go look at that. Can certainly do that. Just since we had 3 cases on tonight, I wanted to show you what those cost.
All right, and so this is being proposed as agenda item number 10 tonight as well. I mean, I like it. I think that makes sense to me. Council members, do y'all have any thoughts on whether you're comfortable moving forward on this tonight for a vote?
I am comfortable with it.
Okay.
It's just to introduce it.
Yeah, we have to introduce.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Not immediate consent.
Yes.
That's right, introducing it.
To give you an example of advertising, when the colony at the Grand was annexed and brought into the city, it was over $6,000 just to do one advertisement.
So we as the
And we
city
charge them 20
lost-
bucks for that.
Yeah.
And we did it twice, right?
did it twice.
You have to do it twice, $6,000 twice.
Wow.
Well, thank you for bringing it to our attention.
The other thing, too, I will mention, council, is that right now at the state level, they're looking at, there's an amendment regarding public records or advertising, but it still will only allow you to publicize in a newspaper of circulation in your county. I did talk to one of the senators about the possibility of looking at a state website where it could be posted to, and everybody would know they go to those websites to look for legal notices, especially for like bids or any kind of legal notice, to try to help expedite some of this, because in a county like ours where print media pretty much no longer exists and people don't get the paper anymore, trying to think of a way that, to notify the public like we're supposed to legally, but also make it, beneficial for the municipalities as well and cost effective. So I do think they'll continue to look at those advertising requirements and hopefully come up with a creative solution that works for everybody.
Okay. Thank you. All right, thanks, sir. Next item up is a discussion of accumulated concrete debris as surplus. Richard Johnson. And we've got a handout related to that memorandum. And there's a backside of that too with a picture.
I've got the picture, I've got bigger pictures.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just a quick background. If you didn't know it, buying virgin gravel material has become a little bit of a challenge. Believe it or not, most of our A and B base is mined in the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico and is shipped to the Port of Mobile. And apparently there was somewhat of a ruckus that occurred down the Yucatan Peninsula, and Vulcan materials got shut out of their mine, and next thing you know, it had to start being exported from the northern regions of our state and region, and the prices went up greatly. But we've had an opportunity to buy a recycled product, which is recycled concrete, which is crushed into a gravel with a lot of fines, and it was a pretty good value, and it works equally as well as a virgin mine material. With that said, there has become a shortage of that because of raw availability of concrete to recycle. If you don't know it or not, at our landfill, but basically between the permitted C&D landfill and where we landfill the inert tree material, we have a large mound there that is all of the concrete that has been pulled up in the city over the last 4 decades. No one has any memory of it ever being cleaned out, but it's quite a collection of old pieces of sidewalk, curbing, concrete pipes, just anything that's cementitious in material, including some asphalt and things of that nature. So we had a discussion with a local vendor that has a concrete recycling operations and asked him to come look at our pile of concrete. And he did deem that he thought there was sufficient volume to make that a potential candidate for a recycle and reuse. And basically what we're asking your permission, and this is kind of a great question for Marcus, If it's already in the landfill, does it need to be surplus? But the question is, are you comfortable with us authorizing the mayor to see what kind of deal we can get? And when we say deal, our goal would be no cost to the city, with the city benefiting from a percentage of the recycled product for our own personal use over the next years, okay? And there would be 3 advantages to that. One, where our goal would be to get material that we use, and I can tell you, Jason and his team at Water and Sewer, every road cut, they're backfilling with the gravel material so you don't get the depressions in the road over time and have that settlement. We use it for just about anything and everything that you can think of, so we get a material. 2, we get the space back in that landfill to start all over again, okay? And final and third thing is that ADEM really likes for us to post numbers about things that we kept diverted out of the landfill and recycled and repurposed. So we would get, if they end up netting whatever thousands of tons of materials into recycling, we get to put that on our ADEM report for this year, and that's always a big attaboy, because we do have a state goal of a certain percentage of recyclables in a given year. So that's where we are, and I did a very quick calculation on that sheet, and I don't want you to hold it to me, because the biggest thing is we don't know what the constituents makeup is, but if 33% of that mound is concrete, and after processing there is a yield of at least 66%, you know, we could be talking about nearly 10,000 tons of recycled base material. And if the vendor's proposal was, I can do at no cost to you 80-20 or 90-10 split, if it's a 90-10, that would derive about 982 tons of usable R-based material that right now we're paying anywhere from $30 to $35 a ton for. So, and that kind of gives you an idea. And we would just like your comfort level, and if you're comfortable with it, at least allow us to solicit proposals to see what kind of deal we can get to not only clean out our landfill, but to get a usable material.
Sounds pretty good to me. Is there any negatives you can think of, or any drawbacks?
No, I mean, you know, I will tell you the biggest challenge is there's only one vendor in the local area that does this type of thing. So, you know, not like we're going to get some person from North Alabama is probably not going to mobilize down here for our pile of concrete. But I just think it's a win-win for everybody.
Sounds like it. Council, any questions for Richard?
Richard, who came up with this idea?
I think it's kind of a combination of George and I. And I know the biggest thing is we bought a lot of recycled base material because we weren't able to afford or be able to get the virgin material. I know Jason really had a big run of it. You know, that kind of got us thinking that we've got a whole lot of old concrete out there that's just taking up space.
I guess the reason I asked, I was wondering if the potential recycler of the concrete had noted that we had thousands of tons of concrete and then came to us, which would put us in a better negotiating position.
No, we kind of had to beg him to come look at our pile because he thought maybe we just had a little pile of concrete, and then when he saw it, he kind of said, yeah, there's some concrete here. So, so no, we weren't that lucky. Okay.
Yeah, I think that sounds pretty good.
Thank you.
All right,
Thanks, Richard.
appreciate it. All right, flying on through council committee updates. Councilman Burrell.
I don't have time to think about this. No, I don't have the comments.
Councilman Martin.
Well, I was given the opportunity to sit in for Councilman Boone at the Personnel Board. We had a good meeting. I think some good things came up as far as the way they're doing business. They were going over the different pay scales and things of that nature. Boone, what's the young lady's name that chairs that? The chair lady?
Diane?
Miss Diane.
Diane Thomas.
Yeah, so Miss Diane is about to leave us, which is crazy.
Yeah, you don't bring that up.
Yeah, I know. That's a sad thing.
She's that good.
She is. Yeah, I think Jeannie is gonna step in.
She good also.
Yeah, Junior's
thorough.
gonna step in, and hopefully, Miss Diane's gonna be around and be a consultant, hopefully. That's what I'm praying for. But Boone, I don't know, we had a good meeting. I think a couple of things came up to where some of the employees were there, and we were asked to ask questions. And I think it's something that we probably should do whenever we're talking about jobs and pay scales and asking for jobs. It was really good because they could answer the questions that we would just be guessing on. So got a lot done with them there. Jeremy was there. Thank you, Jeremy. And the chief was there. So it worked out well. But that's all I have.
All right. Thank you, sir. Councilman Robbins?
Nothing for now.
Councilman Boone?
Actually, since I was out of town and missed the personnel meeting, that was the report.
All right. And I don't have anything right now, so pretty light. Department heads, we'll go ahead and do your update and cover the agenda. Got a fairly lengthy agenda tonight, so anything we can cover here in work session will hopefully get us out at a more reasonable time. But Kim, start with you. Nothing? Chief? Chief? Jessica? Nothing?
Wow.
Whoa.
Whole side
All
shut
right.
down.
Wow, indeed. All right, who wants to go? Jeff? Yes, sir.
I've got a couple of items on the agenda. First one, number 18, cable modem service. This is for 3 parks, Barnwell, Manley Park, and Founders. What we've done is we've added security surveillance equipment at these parks, and I was hoping that Cellular Connection would be able to bring that footage back, but being that this is HD quality video, actually in some locations it's 4K quality, that we don't have sufficient bandwidth to bring that surveillance footage back. So what I'm hoping to do is install some cable modems at these locations to have the bandwidth to do this properly. And so the price you see there, $19,000, that's for 3 years.
Okay. 3-year price through MediaCom, with MediaCom?
And that's for all locations.
All right. Council, any questions on that?
For the IT illiterate, what does this do?
Okay, so cable modem, it provides an internet connection to these parks. So these parks will now have basically a cable modem at the location to get out to the internet.
Okay.
By doing that, it'll have basically a faster way to get the camera footage to us. Because right now it's so slow that we can't even pull it up because we're trying to use cellular. Does that make sense? Okay.
It's
If it
$179
didn't, I wouldn't
per
have bid it.
month per location, is that?
For business, that's what they charge. Yeah, residential, it's just cheaper, but they always, for a business location, they give us higher uptimes and give us a static IP address that allows us to basically establish a constant connection to the site, and that's something they don't usually do for home users. That's why it's a little bit more expensive.
I'll remember that next time their franchise fees come up.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, because we've got a couple locations that I would like to have a backup, like Quail Creek, I would like to have a backup cable modem there.
I say it kind of jokingly, but at the same time, we're in a position to negotiate that. When we had a recent broadband provider, they had offered to provide some services at several locations around town, and it's totally fair to try to negotiate that into the contracts.
I agree.
Remind us when it comes up.
Yeah, I mean, so we've got AT&T that we could probably do that with, Point Broadband, C-Spire, Unity Fiber, they all could.
Yeah, I'm just thinking $179 a month for a park and some of these,
Yeah.
That's for each park?
Yes, each park is
you
one.
take 19,372 and I divide it by 36 months and then 3 locations, it would get up to $179 a month per location.
Within that, it's not much, but within that 19,000 is a one-time setup fee. I think it was like around 120, Mayor, yeah, I think you're correct on that. It's about a 129 setup fee, so, I mean, it's not much, but that does include, it is in that price a little bit.
$4 less.
Yeah.
So $4 less.
Yeah, still 175 a month.
All right. The next item that I have is item 20. This is access control for the Pecan building. So the Pecan building has basically no infrastructure in there, so we're having to put, basically kind of start from scratch with that building, put in the equipment to be able to do access control, meaning that all the doors will have badge readers, so we'll know who comes in and out the doors. We can control who comes in and out the doors. You know, you've seen them around City Hall. I think you got locked out earlier, didn't you? So we keep Jay out of the Pecan building. But that's what that is. It's basically, so everybody doesn't have a key. We don't know who's coming in and out. We take those keys away and you use your employee badge to swipe to enter the building and exit, well, not exit the building, but enter the building. And that's what that is. Any questions?
No, seems pretty straightforward. Council, any questions on that?
Okay, item 22 is an item that comes up every 5 years. When we purchase new servers, we basically run them until our warranty ends, and then we have to repurchase new servers. This is the 5th year of the servers that we're on now, so we need to replace them. This is 3 servers that runs everything in the city. We keep 2 servers at our police department location and 1 in our public works location. And this is also the storage that goes with it.
So
And
every 5 years you update all 3?
We update all 3 because once the warranty ends, you can no longer get parts or support. So if something goes wrong, it gets pretty bad. Trying to scramble to try to find parts.
All right, this may be a dumb question from a non-IT person, but is it better to go ahead and just do it once and replace them all, or should you?
This is all of them.
Yeah, but or does it make more sense to stagger them so that you've always got
It's a good
a
question.
new server in process, so that if they all were to fail at the same time?
Yeah, no, that's an excellent question, but the response for that is we get all the servers at the same time. They have the same processor, same RAM, same hard drive, everything's identical.
It all speaks to each other.
They all speak to each other.
Got
So
it.
if you start mismatching those parts, we might not be able to relocate our virtual servers the way we need to because the
Okay.
hardware has to match.
Got it.
Gosh, Jimmy.
I mean,
No, it's a good question. I mean, it is. All right. Any questions on that? Well,
number 23?
23, it's just annual renewal for our timekeeping system. Our current vendor is Kronos, and this is our yearly support renewal. We see this every year.
Know what it was this last year off the top of your head?
I can find out when the council meeting comes around. I
I
can
was
let
just
you know.
curious how
See what
much
the
stuff like
increase
that
is.
changes. Yes, sir. But I mean, I know it's something we do annually, so.
Okay. If it's something that's completely, if it's off, I'll let you know. I think it's pretty on par for what it was last year, but I will double check.
Is 29 yours as well?
I'm assisting with planning department with this. We'll be moving into the Pecan building. They're doing some renovations over there. So this is just to add a copier, or what they call a multifunction device, at the planning department office. This provides high capacity copying, printing, and scanning at that location. If they didn't have this, then they would have to print and drive over to the main warehouse to get their jobs.
Okay.
And I think that's all I've got.
And that 7696 for a 3-year lease, does that cover is that per year of the 3-year lease, or is that for the total expense for the 3 years?
That's 3 years.
Okay, that's the total expense. All right. Council, any questions for Jeff while he's here? All right. Thank you, sir.
All right.
Appreciate it. Jason, you want to go next?
I got 3 things on the agenda tonight. Item 17 is the on-call contractor to award the bid. We had 2 bidders, W.R. Mitchell and Ranger. And W.R. Mitchell was the lowest responsible.
Okay, so we just set the budgeted dollar amount, and then they bid at a rate per hour per job, and then, so they came in with a lower rate.
They're an assist function. I mean, they're assisting us on the projects that we have. That's where we don't have the manpower, we don't have the capabilities, that's when we use the on-call.
Okay,
And this is based on a cost per whatever position per hour?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so they'll bill for whatever they send out. They send 3 whatevers, and that whatever per hour, they bill like that?
Yes, sir. And the only thing that was troublesome with this, that I'm guessing it's the way times are, is both parties that bid a substantial mobilization. W.R. Mitchell's mobilization on this is $5,000. We did not see that in the on-call that was done a little over 3 years ago here. So what that will entail for us is to make sure that when we do utilize them, that we utilize them for more than one project or one thing. So some of the projects we've got coming up that we need help with is the I&I point repair. And this is just, when we call them, it's not going to be for one job, it's going to be for multiple, so we only pay the $5,000 the one time for mobilization. If not, it would eat us up.
so on a
So we
deal
gotta
like
be-
this, if we got a 1-year contract, and last time, I assume it was the same deal, and we just extended it for the 2 extra years, but this time, it potentially would be worth taking another look at after a
Yes,
year?
sir, most definitely.
Okay,
It's not automatic renewal, it'll have to be both ways, but yes, I would highly recommend to look at it again.
okay.
And see what the contractors, what's going on at the time.
Yeah, the
Because we can
economy-
only get 2 bidders on this.
Yeah, the economy shifts a little bit, which it
Yes, sir.
likely will, that might go away on some of that
And
mobilization.
fuel prices, there's just a lot that goes into that mobilization though.
Okay,
But we will stay on top of that and make sure we get the biggest bang for the buck when they do come out. Unless it's a true emergency where we've got, water out in an area that, that's unpreventable.
okay. Council, any questions, Jason, on that item? All right. Next is number 19, is that
Item
you?
19 is our fusion machine. It's on the budget. It was in the budget. I tried to get, even though that is a sole source, to get other pricing. McElroy, which also does our training, they call it, it's McElroy University, but they do our certification and training for the guys that actually do the fusion of the pipe. We tried to find McElroy only. The only dealer that's for McElroy is Consolidated Pipe for this area. And McElroy is the only company that builds this machine. We could not find another vendor in the United States. We found 2, one was in Australia, and the other was in Europe. But that was the only, so I did it, my due diligence to try to find another price, and I could not.
Justin, would you tell them exactly what this fusion machine does as far as, mapping their systems as well? It's not just the GPS, it's not those pieces on
Oh, ma'am. This is to fuse HDPE pipe, medium density and high density polyethylene.
Okay.
And item 24 is just the meters for our department and the meter department. It's a 500,000 budget, and it covers meters 3/4 through, I think, 8 inch.
How's your supply on those right now?
This is a different endeavor, I guess, the way we're doing it this way. Kim, we talked about it and thought this would be before we were just ordering, the warehouse was just ordering 30 or 40 a month. But this is not we're having to buy a pallet at a time to be able to keep up with demand. So this would allow us to buy 500 meters, 3/4 when we buy. So if we do it this way and we stay, I've talked with Neptune and Consolidated. Consolidated is their local rep. And they were assured us that quarterly we'll be able to get 500 meters. They send 1,500 to this area for the Mobile store, and we can get 500 a quarter. So for right now, that's where we're at. So hopefully November, we'll be back putting irrigation meters in again, once you all approve this.
Okay.
Somebody's doing good.
Sir?
Somebody's doing good. Do they make gas meters?
All right. Next item, do you have anything else on there?
We're gonna walk over there? That's it.
All right, thank you, sir. Richard, you want to jump up before he gets in there and blocks you in?
Butt in real quick.
Yes, sir.
Last year for Kronos, we paid $25,246.
So not much.
About a $1,400 increase.
All right, thank you, sir.
That's
Appreciate it.
I will share one little update, and it's one of those things we're becoming believer it's going to happen. We actually held the pre-construction meeting for the Arts Alley project today. So
All right.
we are anticipating notice proceed with the contractor mobilizing probably in about 30 days from now. So it's going to happen, and we had good representation. Bratz was there, our MPO representative was there, our design team, and Sarah from the MPO reminded us that the first funding for this project was issued by the MPO in 2015. So 7 years, and it's going to become a reality. So I've got quite a bit on the agenda, and I'll be glad to discuss. I think there's several we do need to go a little bit deep into. But number 11, y'all have kind of been briefed on. This is the call for A-Trip 2 applications. And as you know, last year, we applied for improvements at the intersection of Volanta and US 98. We did not receive that, but we would like to continue to pursue that this year again. We have gotten an update from the engineer who's been working pro bono on that. And just as I will remind you that we have a developer on the corner that has a vested interest in these improvements and has made a commitment to basically offset any match that we're proposing. So, you know, if we can be successful in this, hopefully we get a intersection improvement that not only benefits us for our Volanta ballpark traffic and regular residential traffic, but the developer, for a pretty good value to him, gets traffic mitigation as well for that development there on the corner. And I'll be glad to answer any questions. As you know, we have received one of these A-Trip 2s before. That was Twin Beach and US 98. And if you didn't notice, they poured the foundations for the new mast arm poles this past week. So hopefully in about 2 weeks, you'll drive through there and say, where did those come from? So we're excited about that. Number 13 is, as you know, we are undergoing the master planning as well as specific design for the Go Mesa grant on what we call the Triangle Park property. And one of the things that we realize is that there's quite a treasure forest there that needs to be considered when developing that property and how to maximize and preserve that urban forest. So we did put out an RFQ for a consulting urban forester. I will tell you, it's quite disappointing that I think under the state registry in Baldwin County alone on the eastern shore, there's like 38 registered foresters within the eastern shore, and 0 responded to this RFQ, which is just befuddling, and some of them were given direct invites to. We only received one response. Their resume is attached in there. Their scoring is in there. There's no doubt that they're qualified. But the question at hand before you is if you would like to accept the recommendation and authorize the mayor to come back with a not-to-exceed contract. But we definitely need to get some forestry consultation going pretty quick because the design team is going to need that expertise as part of the ultimate planning and development of that park.
So question on that, only addressing the northern parcel, why not looking at both at the same time? Or I guess
Well, and I think the key element is that we kind of look at that this hopefully is a long-term relationship, but right now the Go Mesa grant pretty much
Only
focuses
covers the
on the northern track, so that's where we need to get the kind of the preliminary plan in hand. But ultimately, I think we're going to have a master urban forestry plan for that whole track, the whole 100 acres. So
Yeah, I was gonna say that actually, I was confused. It says the triangle property at the north gateway, and I think the northern track's 100 acres, and the southern track's,
I think it's 72 and 36.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
32, it's 108.
108, yes, that's right. It's 70-something and 30-something, I know
Yeah,
that.
but it says
It says
104.
It says
108 acres, not 104.
Yeah.
I would say it's 72 and 36, right?
That's right.
So it should be 108,
Okay.
unless we've just been working off of incorrect
Why
data.
don't you just make a note on that, the resolution should say 108.
Or just put it, like we do in engineering, just put a plus or minus beside it and just move on, so. Because I'm not sure I don't know if Highway 104 snuck in that number or where that number
Yeah.
came from, but I knew it was 72, 30-something, so. Then item number 14, as you know, we were awarded a TAP grant for sidewalks on Blue Island and Fairwood Boulevards from Fairhope Avenue up to Gayfer and the school. As you may or may not know, this was the third time was the charm, but Neil Schaefer did help us do the preliminary as well as updated the budget on that. And generally, when engineer offers their service for free and we win a grant, we consider them for the actual paid services for the design and the CE&I. And we are requesting of you to authorize the mayor to come back with a not to exceed for that design services and CE&I for that project. And we're excited about that one. We have not had a TAP grant in 3 years, so this will be a first in a while.
Okay. Any questions on that, council? All right, jumping back to that other one, I'm in favor definitely of moving forward, even if they're the only respondent. I think if you can negotiate a reasonable price with them, I don't see why we should not move forward with them.
Councilman Martin can probably speak to the fact that we had a really good steering committee, committee meeting, so I think this is a thing that we really need to move forward on.
Okay. All right. Next item up, Mr. Johnson.
I have, I can discuss 16, I can at least give you some background. One of the greatest challenges we have is that, one, our utilities operate beyond our city limits, and a lot of times when they have to do a repair, they have to either cut a road, possibly a curb, possibly a sidewalk, and the ability sometimes for city forces, i.e. Public Works, to efficiently and quickly address that problem becomes a challenge, especially when we're way outside the city limits in a territory. And so one of the things that we kind of put out there was an on-call contract when there is a county person saying you've got to get this taken care of right now or whatever, that we have that ability. And we did get a response from JPT Construction. It's based on a square footage price with the city providing materials. I will tell you, under the terms of concrete, it's not way out of line. I don't think we'd ever use them for asphalt because it's a little high. But again, it's either the option is if we accept it, then it's got to be the discretion of whatever superintendent or public works director decides to use discretionary money to effect a repair quickly, and they see value in it. And this could be a contract that we initiate and don't use hardly at all, but it's a tool in the toolbox. And the challenge is when we have a local vendor, and Kim's going to nod her head and start saying amen, that is good about, we could call and say, hey, can you run out and take care of this, get us a price. But as soon as we bump up to $15,000 in a given year, we're getting in violation of bid law. So that's why we have to have these on-calls in place, so that if sewer and water have 6,000 and Public Works has 3,000 and gas has, 6,000, all of a sudden we're bumping up against that limit for that service. So this keeps us in the clear on the state bid law. And I think the recommendation is to accept it, but I think that we will use it with great discretion. And where the value comes in, if there's a lot of curbing and sidewalk that can be lumped together in a location, then it's not that terribly bad on the concrete side.
Okay.
Richard, I see that I see three different departments. Is that money coming out of each of those budgets?
Yes, what would happen, look, for example,
Yeah.
if sewer had to cut a sidewalk to fix a sewer line,
Right.
and they called on this contract and it calculated out at $525, and they would issue a purchase order out of their repair and restoring budget for that type of work. If Public Works cut a sidewalk somewhere and we need to get it fixed because we've got an event coming up and we pay out of our maintenance account. So that's how that would work, yes. It's whoever breaks it pays for it.
Thank you.
Number 21 usually is the most non-controversial expenditure. That is our annual flower contract, and you see all the details in there, but that is basically all of the perennials and annuals that are ordered for a given year to keep us in bloom and looking beautiful. And there's a lot of attachments in that if you want to go line by by it. So number 25, 27, 28 are all procurement-related items. Number 25 is a budgeted item for a new replacement boom mower. As you may or may not recall, our current boom mower was bought used off the state yard 5 years ago. We've gotten about as much money out of that as we can, and it has become a little bit of a maintenance issue. This is a purpose-built machine. It's on the state bid list. And unfortunately, as you can see, it was budgeted at $221 and is now at $233. And I understand the quote that was put in for the budget was received in July. That's the price change just since that period of time. And if you notice on these quotes, every one of them says good for 30 days. So that is a challenge, and that I don't know an easy solution to. On item 27, there is a significant differential in prices there, and that is 100% on me. I will tell you the background on it. One of these two trucks was asked for last year, and through the process with the mayor, we removed it because we needed to get the budget closer in line. And as we prepared the budget for this year back in the late spring, we rolled it back in, and so we had a placekeeper and a quote. We did ask for an updated quote, and we received it late, but we never got it uploaded in the budget. That's a miss on me as the director. And so we have a number that is from nearly 24 months ago, and we saw the truck in there and we saw a big number underneath it, and it was a miss on us. And the challenge here is that's a $65,000 miss on the total purchase of two trucks, and that's a tough deficit to swallow. I think the consideration here is that there was no doubt that our intent was to ask for two trucks, and the budget was approved with two trucks. We just had a bad number in there because of some housekeeping issues on our part. I think the only probably bright light here is that this truck probably will not see the expenditure until the next budget year. And so we can at least repair that at that time in a budgetary sense. The other good news I will tell you is we have started the can audit for our residential customers, and we've already accounted for 142 customers that have multiple cans, which represents an additional $36,000 per annum, and that's just the first pass. So, and just so you know, we need 270 cans to make up the difference of $65,000. So we need 128 more to go. But that is just that's on me. And
You got a garbage can hotline?
Can you tell that Kim and I have been on Richard?
Call the can the can.
Yeah.
We're counting cans, so
Yeah, we're
got to buy a truck.
counting cans.
He is almost anticipating our questions. getting really close.
Well, I've been with you 5 years. I'm starting to figure out where the, what you're looking for. And then finally, number 28 is a budgeted item. It is $4,000 higher. And the sad part of this is the vendor who has the Ford contract on the state bid list called us and says, hey, I gave you a price earlier for budgetary purchases for a Ford van, a work van. I have a customer who's not going to take this van. I can put you on the first of the list, and you know, he gave us the price. And the thing, the sad news of this is this price is absolutely locked in and known. If we were to order from the new, it would be higher than this for the exact same van. So we are asking to take advantage of that opportunity, and this will be received in short order because it's literally sitting on the dealer lot right now. So, and that is $4,000 or 10% over the budgeted price.
How many camps is that related to?
Well, this is for facility maintenance, so I don't think Kim lets us move money from the enterprise fund to general. So, and luckily, that's all I have on the agenda. So, is there any other questions or?
Any questions on 27 or 28 or any of the prior items that we may have missed for Richard?
And we certainly appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
Appreciate you figuring out where that excess money is coming from. So, thank you, sir. All right, Conrad and Ben, do y'all have anything tonight? I think you do.
So, when we went over budget, did a 5-year plan, we all got talking, might be time to try to get a second opinion in here on some engineering, professional engineering. So we reached out to Highline. So that's what we're trying to get them in here, just to work on the Magnolia project.
Okay. All right, so that's item number 15, council?
Yes, sir. Mayor Sullivan couldn't, got her in
Alright.
touch with them, so.
All right, so that'd just be selection and the mayor to negotiate the fee. Any questions on that, council?
At an AMEA meeting last week and talked to the electric supervisor of Piedmont.
Okay.
That's Corey, right? And I talked to him about some of the prices that we've been quoted recently, and he said that he had a vendor he could suggest. Well, I've got it written down. I don't have it with me, but I'll pass it on to you.
That'd be great. So just a little backstory on them. They're actually familiar with this area. They work for Riviera and EMC. So Highline does. We've actually used them in the past, but open to suggestion.
It could be the lot that.
I had a lengthy phone conversation with them and haven't had the opportunity to meet them in person yet. They have offered to come down if they're selected. But they, again, have a lot of knowledge of our area. Actually, one of the principals in the company is from Foley originally. So they have done work for EMC, for Riviera, have done work for us in the past, some small things, but are very familiar with Baldwin County and how fast we're growing. They're actually headquartered in Georgia and have an office, I think, in Auburn. So excited to be able to, just bring somebody else in to get that second opinion. Obviously, you never want to put all your eggs in one basket, so I think this will be. Okay, so they are from Georgia, so yeah. So anxious to see, what they bring to the table and just, again, give us that second set of eyes.
And we started breaking ground on docks today. So Kevin, Jeremy, and Ray, they started putting all the electrical in. Contractor, he is waiting on his state for his tax purposes to be tax exempt. As soon as he gets that, then he's going to start running all the pipe for the finger piers. So hopefully, all the panels come in today, so it's a good thing. We've been waiting on them for about 3 months.
I've been noticing people putting lights up on trees the
Yeah,
last
that's another thing.
week or so.
We've got a lot of trees left, so just bear with us. They are starting to decorate during the day now, so
Okay.
if you get any complaints, just call Conrad. Anything else?
As long as it's done by the middle of November.
That's right.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Jeremy, did you have anything today?
We don't have anything on the agenda, but
Doesn't
just
think
a quick update on the inactive services that we were trying to kill to meet the new state rule. The guys finally finished walking to every house from Bainbridge to Fish River. So that's complete, that's done. That
Wow.
took a big workload off, we had one crew dedicated to doing that since May. So we have roughly 50, 60 inactive services to go back and kill, but just kind of wanted to give you an update on that. I know our guys are tired of walking around houses, and they pretty much walk, even houses that didn't show we had gas, we had to walk around it to verify there wasn't an inactive service. So they are glad to be done with that and going back and going to kill all the ones that we found. Update on Magnolia River, talked with Marcus today. We're working on the contract. There's some things that he has to work through and hoping to work those things out and sign the Magnolia River contract if we get the okay from Marcus to do that.
Got a meeting tomorrow, or conference call tomorrow, they threw in a bunch of new terms on Friday, Thursday,
Yes.
Friday. That, inconsistent with what we normally do, so we've got a meeting with their attorneys tomorrow to discuss all that.
But
Okay.
other than that, nothing on the agenda for tonight.
All right. Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate the update. Pat? I think it might be nothing. All right. Hunter, you got a pile. Do you want to address any of it now, or?
I think the only thing left that Jeff didn't cover were zoning cases, if you want to.
I mean, we might as well cover them. We got 20, 25 minutes. Might as well cover what we can. So obviously you're number 10. So we've got,
We have, the first one I believe is,
and they're all
Item
public
5.
hearings, right? All three of these?
yes, sir. So the first one is, and without visual aids, we could kind of skim forward into the, just to see the maps if you'd like.
Yeah, just to kind of hit the highlights so we can.
Okay. Here we go, just for the map. This property is, as you can see, it's in the county right now. It's never annexed in. It's kind of landlocked, but proposed to come in as B2. The immediate plans for that, we do not have exact plans, but in essence, a continuation of these professional offices. So the driveway would extend is what we're hearing. And they've already talked to all of our sewer, water, utilities to how that gets through. So that would be through a private easement through here. So didn't see any challenges with that other than the little bit of area that would have to be buffered adjacent to the residential. But other than that, this made it through with a unanimous recommendation to approve. Any questions on that one?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Go back to the map. So, let's see, the west would be up to the south of that. Is that all B2? Is it all in the city limits right now?
Yes, this red is all B2. So everywhere you see red, that color red would match what the zoning for this would be.
And the green is residential?
Yes.
Well, the two lots just to the south of it, I don't think they're red, are they?
This is red. The two to the west are not. They're still outside the city limits.
Is the same person own those?
Believe that is Minto's office. I could be wrong there. I believe that's who's Dr. Minto's office there. And I'm not sure about the owner of this one. It's mostly parking there, so I don't think it's the same owner.
Well, the reason I asked the question was if it was the same owner, could we get a package deal and allow them to come in and be B2?
The current owner of this is definitely not here. So I know this is not the same.
This is where we have those pockets in town. We have these islands of unincorporated area that just cause us fits.
Yes, I agree. And we would have had that discussion, but this is not the same owner as this property.
But we could not solicit that property?
We could certainly. I think it's wise. I think some of the conversation, especially with jurisdiction, I think it's wise we start to look at how we can approach a lot of these holes, just not as part of this case.
Yeah.
Didn't
Just
associate with this
future.
case. If there's no other questions on that one, the next one was also a conditional annexation with initial zoning of B2. This property is on Greeno Road, front Greeno Road. It's two pieces of property. The Publix site that's being constructed on Old Battles Road and Greeno Road is just to the south. So both this case and this went through the Planning Commission. Both were recommended approval. Chronologically, this would have to be approved by the city council before the public site could annex, because this is how they would be contiguous to the city. There is not a plan in front of us for the use of this project. There's been many conversations through the years. So as if granted, this zoning would allow the uses allowed in B2. And whether that triggered a future review would be pursuant to our zoning ordinance, not just our subdivision regulations. I believe this is approximately 13 acres. So that's kind of a more recent version of the aerial, shows the public site and the subject property. We have a utility easement through part of this property now. I believe some of our, water or sewer? One was sewer is coming through this way to get back toward Old Battles Village and head south. And again, this one note for this one, we always look at our comprehensive plan and how we decide to grow. The village nodes or commercial nodes, as part of our previously approved comprehensive plans, were this intersection was not one of those. But as you all know, but just to state for the public site came in as unzoned property in the city limits where there was no zoning, so the uses, things like that, could not apply when it was approved. In response to that development, our current comp plan, this is just a draft, but just showing you a map, it's showing where kind of the growth areas are, not throwing the nodal plan out the window completely, but looking at where else it can be applied, and as we'll discuss in the future how we can address some of the things that may not have worked. But I just want for that, this intersection was pointed out as something we will need to address as a intersection of commercial growth or that higher density growth. So we did not see a problem with this and recommended approval. It came through the Planning Commission unanimously recommending approval to you. Any questions on that one?
That's 2 parcels.
It is.
The ordinance covers both.
Yes, it does. The legal description covers both of those, so that would be both properties coming in. Okay. All right, and the next is also a zoning change. This one has been before you a couple of times, but it's a proposed amendment to the Montrose PUD. There's the PUD ordinance there, and just a map of the aerial right now, so you can see most of that is undeveloped. In essence, I'll kind of skip ahead for this summary. This was what's proposed and approved in the previous amendment. It's 18 residential lots. In general, there's not major changes to the end result or the goal of that. And to be clear, I want to say we still continue to approve of the final plan. There was 2 things that was proposed with this amendment by the applicant, and I'm summarizing here, but it would be to allow lots 4 through 6 to either be sold individually as option A or as one lot would be option B. Staff hasn't seen any problem with that. We even discussed that in the last city council meeting, is that being an option, and really didn't even think that needed amendment. That's something that's why we discussed it in the council meeting, could have been administratively done. It also adds 5 development phases, and there is a minor where the road lays out for accessing 98. But the development phases is not something we really have, that language, but interpreting that, it's removing a condition of approval of the previous PUD. What we looked at, there's a lot of moving parts to this PUD. Where exactly access roads will be located was not clear at the PUD phase, and instead of holding that up, we said, okay, we made a condition that preliminary plat would show that for all of the lots. So, after and there's the condition of that, at minimum, the preliminary plat would show access to all those things, and whether we're accepting the right-of-ways and vacating, or allowing them on the right-of-ways with agreements, or the county keeping the right-of-ways at the time was always a little gray. So this would resolve that. We had that in the condition from the beginning, didn't know that was a problem. And as well as the rest of these conditions of approval. So you can see all streets, whether public or private, shall be approved. We didn't know the answers to that. And instead of triggering the 3 pages of checklist within the PUD, we kind of said, okay, here's the concept, and let's move forward to get those things worked out. We received a plat application. I'll go back to, so I can get the date correct, in March. Preliminary plat for lots 1 through 6 only. We did not accept that application because of that condition and limitation within the approved ordinance. So this ordinance, from what we can tell, is intended to remove that condition. We can look through the whole details, and
We can cover all that.
All that, I'll just kind of jump to.
Cover it in the actual council meeting.
There was conversation during the planning commission that we've never made anyone else do this. Unfortunately, right now, all of our plans and documents are boxed up. They're getting picked up finally tomorrow for scan. We did pull just a few out. Connectivity's been an issue in Fairhope for over 30 years. Every PUD is unique. We're going to look at the unique challenges of that and allow that flexible design. But even the Fly Creek PUD on the first iteration had explicit directions on what roads would be and access. We don't know where those are located, so that was the intent of that condition. And you can see how this is developed. Even the plan shows 16 when they did develop future phases. You know, the roads and all were already there. At least on the plan, we knew where things were going. So we did recommend denial of this with that explicit condition to remove that. Planning Commission also voted unanimously to recommend denial of this case as well. So I'd be happy to answer any questions on that. We've got some other information, just kind of tried to summarize.
Thank you for just a brief summary. We'll get back to you if you don't mind during the council meeting. I appreciate you just giving everybody a quick overview.
Sure.
Let's see, Eric, I think you've got a couple items, or at least one item. Go back up to
John, I want to let you.
Council, I have item 26 on the agenda, which is the purchase of 2 Ford Explorers. As Richard explained, we received bid pricing in July that we originally budgeted. Of course, now the vehicles available are a little bit more. I think it's about $4,000 total. I think it was around $2,000 a vehicle. But I've already discussed with Kim other places in my budget where I can make that up.
Okay.
So if you have any questions, and I do appreciate you guys considering it.
And I appreciate y'all taking that into consideration. We just don't want to come out with the brand new budget and every item is a little bit more, and by the time you get to the end of the year, you'd be way out of whack, so, thank you
Well,
for.
the only other thing you can really do is just kind of inflate it or artificially inflate it, and none of us
No,
want to
we-
do
and
that.
we
So we'd
wouldn't.
rather come and explain it to you when we need to.
And we appreciate that. Any other updates from just your department?
Actually, one more thing. And pretty much, I think the news and social media has covered it, but at the intersection of Twin Beach and Thompson Hall Road, that is an apartment complex where they just went in and cleared all that area. That is and it actually, they advertised it as the Waters. That was their original name request. We informed them we have too many waters in Fairhope, they need to find something else. So it is technically known as the Flats at East Bay. And that was unzoned property outside the city limits. It is still outside the city, but I believe it was captured in one of the recent county zoning districts.
Okay.
So it is now zoned by the county. It is not zoned for what they're doing, but they came in before all that. So that will be proceeding. It did get zoned? Yeah. So that's what that is, and as folks understand, it was in the county, so.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Real quick, I'm gonna hit any items I'm missing. Number 9, Mayor, would that be you, or I didn't see Corey, you or Kim? Or we've already covered that, I guess. So we probably don't have to cover that too much more. How about item number 12, would that be you? Okay, I'm sorry, Jessica.
This is just the amended grant agreement for Working Waterfront. It's the Restore grant. This lets us access that 5.4, I think, million, 5.6 million
0.7.
for construction.
Okay.
This is no cost to us.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, we did receive, when I was here a few weeks ago, I told you that we had applied for a barricade grant from Homeland Security. We did receive that last week, so that'll be right at $50,000 worth of barricades. With the budgeting that Public Works has done this year, I think we'll be at 100% safety barricaded by the end of the year. So.
All right, excellent.
Thanks.
Any questions about number 12?
Thank you, ma'am. And let's see, item number 30, would that be Paige probably? I don't think Paige is here. Okay. And 31, would that be same? Okay. All right, council, let's take a 10-minute break. We'll come back and get started on the meeting.